Actually, this last week has just been oddly busy. I mean, of course, Tuesday I told my job about traveling, but it just seems like the whole week has just been and like bang, 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 stuff's been going on. I've been doing
Yeah.
things and then of course with like the YouTube, I have two big projects I'm working on, the volume three and also the Tao Te Ching audiobooks, and they're taking a lot of time as well, a lot more than I thought it'd be. So yeah, I don't know. This week has been a little bit crazier than usual.
Yeah. How does that sit with you, man? When you have a busy week, what I mean? How do you work with that? How do you take care of yourself during those times? Because I know how, when you have a busy week, man, you don't even get a chance to think about what you need to do for yourself. You're kind of just you're moving.
Yeah, I think partially why it's a busy week for me is because I do make sure I take so
Hey,
oh
so say
I
that again, you cut out.
oh sorry. I Most of the time whenever I get busy, it's because I do take care of myself. I
Yeah.
put stuff aside. I to do my meditations, to go work out, to have recreation time. So a lot of like the Tao Te Ching, I should have or I could have done it a lot sooner, but I value taking care of myself through meditation. I want to go run. I want to go oh dance, do recreation so I don't burn out because I've done that before and it's awful.
Yeah, burnout is the burnout takes a long time to even realize that it's burnout. I feel
Mhm.
like I mean, you just think you're tired, you know what I mean? You don't really know. You slow down a little more each day and you don't really realize what's going on.
Mm.
But you're burning out. Um, you can even burn out by doing nothing. You can burn out in any way. You can burn out from having fun. You know what I mean? Because it may take a little longer. I'm not sure, but you can absolutely burn out by doing absolutely nothing all day and just having fun and having pleasure, which is
Yeah.
and that's the worst type of burnout.
Yeah.
Absolutely the worst.
Well, I think it's a contrast between what normal culture thinks of as rest and what actually it rejuvenates your batteries.
Yeah.
Like most people think, okay, if I go to work, that is activity and that's work. And when I go home, whatever I do at home, that's leisure. It's like,
Oh,
no,
I know.
if you are participating in any activity, that is work.
Yeah.
That is activity you're expending your energy on. What's not work is sleeping. What's not work is, like you do, yoga. What's not work, or I mean, I'm saying work as in like activity wise, as meditation, walking, letting
Mm.
your mind literally rest from
Yeah.
activity.
Biking, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Hmm.
Yeah. Because I would say physically it's work, but
Yeah.
mentally you're not I wouldn't call it. I mean, the only thing you're working on mentally is just pushing yourself, but
Hmm.
that's I don't find that also I agree with you. That's not work. That's
Hmm.
whatever you want to call it, conditioning, that's pleasure, with a
You
little
get
bit
in
of
the
pain.
flow too, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, yeah. Biking is the greatest with a flow, man. Because once you start, you don't want to stop. I mean, it's just the law. What law is that again? Everything in motion stays in motion. So
Law or
yeah,
second Newton's law, whatever law.
yeah, everything in motion stays in motion. You don't want to stop, and but that's the thing with burnout. You kind of keep going even if it's not really benefiting you because of just that consistent motion. Um, I found that, you know, in my 30s so far, I've learned the difference between having a good reward system versus um, like too much leisure, you know. I think it's important for people to have their ways to reward themselves. You know what I mean? I used to feel guilty rewarding myself because I wasn't like, oh, I was like, I'm not doing something productive. I'm a failure. I'm guilty. I can't have fun. The only reason I'm feeling like that is because I'm not actually doing anything productive, right? Even though I think I am, I might be doing like work or I'm working on the stuff I'm working on. I'm not putting my 100% in it. So that means whenever I'm not putting effort into what I think is productive, I don't want to put 100% into that either, my leisure. My mind's not right. So that's kind of like the catch 22 with burnout and reward systems, all this stuff. You got to be able to be mentally prepared and do things with intention. Um, if I want to do a 30-minute yoga routine, I sit there and I have my intention set like, okay, I'm going to do this for 30 minutes or however long it takes, and I'm going to only focus on this. I'm not going to think of anything else. If I want to play a video game for 45 minutes to an hour or something like that, I'm only going to do that. You know what I mean? I'm going to enjoy it, right? If I want to watch a show, same thing. I'm going to enjoy it. I didn't know how to really enjoy anything until recently, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
you have to set your mind to that it put an intention to even just having pleasure, which
Mhm.
is a weird thing to think about, but it's true, right? You have your time for work, you have your time for pleasure, and you got to make sure you're actually invested in it, or else nothing in life is going to ever feel good, feel right.
You
Everything's
have
going
to
to be
get
kind of
into the
empty.
present, you know?
Yeah, you're how are you going to have fun? But think about what you did last night, or think about what's going on in the future. You're not having fun anymore. You know, you're just in your head the whole time. Oh, that's that's a terrible thing, man. My goodness, my goodness.
Yeah. Dude, I've experienced that a little bit this week because there was like once or twice where whenever I get anxious, there's like a lump. I feel a lump in my throat.
Yeah,
And that's when I know I'm like, oh, I'm getting anxious. But like you said, anxious comes from thinking of the things you have to do in the future. So, there's like two techniques I that help me is reminding my mind that I'm doing this activity. I'm doing this activity. This
yeah,
is the only activity I'm doing. I don't care about any activity. And meditation helps with that. The day that I felt that, not an episode or anything, but that slight anxiety was a day I didn't have a lot of meditation. So there's that. But also, and you've said this multiple times before, but breathing. Breathing helps you get back into the present.
yeah. It
It's
does.
just like just stopping in place and just going like resets you.
They say I think it's like they say 3 to 5 long ins, long outs breaths actually can one lower your heart rate pretty good, um, focus you, bring you clarity, and um, bring down your blood pressure, right? So yeah, so I mean, and that's the thing, like I think a lot of people suffer from anxiety, a lot of people suffer from overthinking or they have all the air stress, dude. A lot of stress. And we never taught people how to deal with the stress. We just throw people around and say, okay, do this and that without actually any knowledge of what's right for them. I think one of the nicest things about the Apple Watch is that it actually tells you to get up out of your seat and like walk around, you know, seriously, even the smallest thing. Um, to step back from take like they say what 30 seconds. You know, if you can't spare 30 seconds out of your day to take care of yourself, then something's not right in your life. So you're never taking care of yourself. If you don't take care of yourself, how can you take care of others? So I mean, it's not a selfish thing, you know, it's not selfish to be there for yourself, to take time for yourself and to step back and even sometimes take a day, you know, to say no. I think
And
saying no is one of the hardest things for people to do.
yeah, because they at least for me growing up, it was to say yes is to get attention.
Hmm.
It's like when my friends ask, "Hey, do you want to go out?" It's yes, because I want their attention. I want to be with them. I
Yeah.
don't want to be alone to confront myself. And to go back to loving yourself, um, and you can't and really affect the world, affect others if you don't love yourself. The Tao Te Ching talks about self-mastery before or going out, because as the idea of self-mastery is, no, you don't want to just as be a master within yourself. Who learn, adapt, and get experiences so you can go out
Mm.
and affect the world, affect other people positively. And you can't do that if you don't take some time to yourself. And yeah, and one other thing I wanted to mention was because you talked about people with anxiety and depression, and it's a pandemic right now. Uh, I think a lot of people know that, but I don't think a lot of people I don't think people understand that it's okay to feel anxious and depressed.
Hmm.
Like, that's a human emotion. I think the culture we're perpetuating nowadays is something that we can't feel anxiety, we can't feel depression, and if we do, we got to find something to eradicate it or to cure it. That's what pills are. That's what we think relaxing is going to do for us.
This,
That's
man, the
huh?
smoking weed, man, that's one of the big
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
We want to run away from it.
Yeah.
And what sucks, and that's the paradox of life, is the farther you run, the closer it gets.
Yeah. It just
So,
catches right up.
yeah, and the thing I'm talking about in my book, and I kind of didn't, uh, it's a touchy subject because I don't know this person in particular, but do you know who David Foster Wallace is?
No.
So he's a he was a prominent literary figure who was pretty much the people in the literary community thought of him as the next up-and-coming literary figure, or the next one who make publish all these novels. And then he committed suicide. And from my digging on my shallow research, there needs to be more, is with him, it was always a running away from his depression. He called the brain the terrible master, and that he could never get rid of the terrible master. And it's sad, because he was on pills since he went into college, and it just seems like he's always trying to run away from it. And you contrast that with someone like Tim Ferriss, who openly says he's had suicidal and depressive thoughts. But it's the funniest thing because when he talks about how he's dealing with it, he talks about how he likes to snuggle with his demons rather than struggle with his demons. Pretty much he's accepting it. He's
Yeah.
accepted it. And now he has tools in his belt that whenever it does come, okay, I'm gonna accept it. I'm gonna uh, deal with it in these healthy ways, and then I'm gonna move on. So I think that's the main thing I think people don't realize is you got to stop running away from it. Yeah.
No, so pills is one thing, right? Like I have an experience with that, and I don't like them. Um, I don't like pills because I think medicine's important. I think to start
Mhm.
out, it's important, right? To get you, it helps get you out of a certain frame of mind. It gets you a jump start. Great, amazing. But a lot of times, when I was actually visited, I was in the psych ward. I was admitted to the psych ward in 2020, and I found that the people that were there were highly dependent on medication to function, right? And I was a little disheartening because there's a lot of people were older. They were probably, I was by far the youngest person there, and I was 28 at the time. And I noticed everyone else around there was at very least the next youngest person was in their probably 40s. And then it just got older and older after that. And I would watch individuals walk around and just cannot talk right, can't function right, can't think right, can't like they just struggle so hard until they got their medication. And then it was just like nothing happened. Um, and I don't know why some of them were in there, but I do know that some of them were in there for a long time. They were there for months, probably even a year. Um, and it was a little it was disheartening because I think these people they 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 don't give up. They're alive, they're still here, but the people around them, right? The doctors, the therapists and stuff, they're doing their best, but I just can't really feel I don't feel like they're really trying to get them out. I think the point of the rehab, this the psych ward, the rehab clinic, whatever you want to call it, is to rehab people, to get them to get out into the world again, to help them. And I just didn't see that. I saw a lot of people just sitting there being dependent and then just spoon feeding them, like having them watch Martin on TV and like all these sitcoms and then just feed them food and then tell them to go to bed. And they've been there for weeks, months. And it's like, yo, like, are we actually helping people or not? And I was only there for about 2, 3 days. Um, I I I needed to get that. I needed to get out of there. But I'll never forget one of the guys, he told me, he said, you don't belong here, right? He's older black gentleman, barely spoke a word the times I was there, but he pulled me aside and said, "You do not belong here. You're too smart to be here." And I was sad because I felt like he was one, he was right. And two, what about him? What about everyone else? I'm sure everyone else there is pretty smart too. I think they just got dealt a wrong hand, and I just don't think they're getting the help they deserve. So they put me on pills, and I took them for about a year and a half after I got out. And I remember the after about the 3 month mark, 4 month mark, um, I was back in the workforce. I moved back to Massachusetts, and I just felt different. And after a while, the pills kind of took me over, and I felt like I was not myself anymore. The point of the antidepressants were to make me not sad, but unfortunately, they made me not anything. I didn't feel happiness. I didn't feel sadness. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel anxiety. And if anything, I just felt numb. And unfortunately, that's the one thing that I hated the most. I was like, it's like takes away your humanity in some way. You're supposed to feel sad. Like just like you said, you're supposed to feel depressed once in a while. You're supposed to feel sad. You're supposed to feel joy, anger, mad, happiness, elation, frustration, disappointment, all of it. Detest. Like you're supposed to have all those feelings because you'll never know how to handle it. You won't be able to grow. But when you feel nothing, not only is it, not only do you not learn anything about yourself, but you also don't feel human. And people around you don't think you're human. They think you're like a weird man. You know what I mean? So once my father, he sent me this article, and I don't remember where it was from, but I'll never forget this article because it said there was a study done that antidepressants actually, or these pills or whatever, don't actually link to any lessening of depression or anything like that. There's no link to it. They don't actually help people. It's just a pharmaceutical uh, method to get people on medication. It's just a way to get people on medication and probably to keep them in the same loop like the people in the psych ward. So after that day, I had already weaned down on my dosage, but after that day, I cold turkey this shit. I just said, I'm done. I don't need this. And yeah, it was weird the first couple months that I wasn't taking them anymore. But then I don't know, that's been like 3 years since then, and I'm fine. You know what I mean? In fact, uh, I deal with depression better than I ever did, probably because one, I've learned some things. I've had to take a look at myself and figure out what's going on. I've changed some habits. Two, I opened my heart to Jesus Christ and God, and that was a big change for me. And three, I would say um, the most important aspect of that is that I just told myself I didn't need it. And I stuck and I believed it. I believed in it. I had faith in myself. You know, that's the number one thing. Just have faith in yourself. Because all these people are telling you you need this and you need that. You don't need shit. You just need, well, if you're religious, you need God. And two, and if you're not, then you need to serve others, right? You need to realize you're not the only person in this world, and you need to realize people go through stuff too, and you're not alone. So have faith in yourself because you can always get out of whatever you can get out of anything. It just is all up in your head, all of it. That's why the mind is the most dangerous thing in the world because
Sure.
it can change lives for the better and it can kill you.
Mhm.
You know, I feel absolutely sorry for people who commit suicide. I can't. I've had thoughts of it, but I can't even imagine the mental turmoil it takes to actually do it or to attempt it. Like that, they're fighting horrible, horrible things in their head. Their mind is literally killing them. So in life, so far I've learned nothing is as big as it seems. It's really not. Your mind just makes it bigger, man. It's like a hot air balloon in your head sometimes. It just keeps blowing up from like I think about the blimps. You see the blimp? You think about the
Mhm.
blimps? That tiny little box down at the bottom is probably the problem, and the blimp is what you make of it. That's what your mind does to it. It makes it into this large blimp, and it just hovers over you and just has all you just can't stop seeing it. But the problem's just in that tiny little box, you know. That's what the mind does. It just blimps your problems.
First, thank you for sharing. It's
You're
a,
welcome.
I know we're pretty open to being vulnerable, but I think the more we're vulnerable, it shows other that it's okay to talk about hard times in your life with others. And maybe not with everyone because not everyone's going to listen,
Yeah,
but it's okay to be vulnerable. That's another thing. It's okay to be vulnerable.
100%. And being vulnerable is the only way you'll learn that other people are vulnerable.
Hmm.
Like uh, one of my boys, I didn't even know this about him. Like last year, he confessed to me that he had attempted suicide. I had no idea because this dude, I had no clue. He has such a happy demeanor, right? So, but we sat down, we were talking just man to man, just going over some shit in our lives, and then he opened up about that, and I couldn't I just had no idea. So, and this is especially important for men. I mean, I know women are very good at connecting and excuse me and telling people what's going on in their heart and in their mind, but men, let's be real, we're pretty horrible at it, man. We suck. Like, we're absolutely terrible at this. Um, but sitting down and it doesn't even become about men and women at that point. Once you sit down and you have a conversation with somebody and you get vulnerable and you talk and you actually listen and you're attentive, it's just two people. It's just two, it could be a stranger or your best friend or some guy at work. It's just two people at the end of the day. It does not matter the externals. It doesn't matter what they look like, where y'all met, nothing. It's just two people connecting through their souls because we're not that much different from each other. We're really not. A lot of us go through the same things. I didn't realize that until I started going on the internet and people would like post the same jokes and have this talk about what their parents did or all this stuff that happened when we were kids. And we were like, yo, this happened to thousands of other people too. I thought I was the only one. No, we're so similar, man. We go through a lot of the same stuff, and the bad and the good. But what do we do with that? That's the question, right? So when we think about the things in our past that hurt us and the things that helped us, or the things in our future that we don't want to happen again because of what happened in the past, it's an important thing to think about, but don't let it run your life because it's going to ruin what you're doing now. And that was my problem. I let my past take over my future and my life, my present.
Mhm.
All I thought about was what happened in the past. And then when I was in college, all I thought about was the future. That's all I thought about. To
Mhm.
the point where you could paralyze yourself. You think about it too much, then you don't do anything about it because you're too busy thinking about it.
Yeah, the music of life is playing and everyone's thinking about the next song.
Yeah. Everybody's thinking about the next song. I mean, think about that. All right. Go on your playlist, right? Like go on your playlist, go and drive or go in your car, your headphones, whatever, and just put your playlist on shuffle, right? Or don't. Go to a random thing and just put it on shuffle. And take each song as it is. You know how hard that is to do? Because we have such preconceived, we know what we like. So if we don't like something and we write it off with it. I mean, me, I write off a song within 5 seconds. If it's at 5 seconds, if I'm not hooked, I'm done. But then I realized I've missed out on some great songs because of that. You know, how many times have you listened to an album and you were hype about it and you were like only 3 years ago, and then you revisit that album and you realize, yo, track 7 was actually the best track, even though I barely listened to it, but it's actually the best track. I've done that mad times. It's funny how that works, man. I think over time, over a year, our taste, our ears change. I don't understand what it does. Have you ever done that?
The point now is to listen to the whole song if I've never listened to it before, put it aside, and then listen to it again later.
Yeah,
Because right now, one of my favorite songs, like first five, like first minute, I was like, it could be better.
yeah,
Now I'm like windows down, yelling it as
yeah,
top of my
yeah,
lungs, and that's don't judge a book by its cover, cliche, right? But
yeah,
it's it, that's a lot of biology intertwining with that. It's our body trying to protect us from our first impressions of things in the wild.
yeah,
And that's things we have to contend with. And when you're talking about music, it's like I, it's all emotional. So, most of the time. Of
yeah,
course, I have a great lyricist, but most people listen to music for the emotion of it. And if you listen the first 5 seconds and you are not instantly hooked or have an emotional connection with it,
yeah.
most people are like, I'm good. I'm
Next,
gone.
next, skip up on the next one. And then you're sitting there for like 10 minutes just pressing skip. You don't actually listen to anything. Oh my goodness, yeah. Or you
The
listen to the
same.
same song like 50 times,
hmm You
which
want to
I've
go
done.
into pornography because I can connect that into
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk,
because
yeah.
because that's exactly what I did whenever I was watching porn a lot.
Yeah,
Is watch the first 10 seconds. No.
yeah,
Next one. Or there's a specific video I can't find. I spent 10 minutes trying to just search for it because it's not necessarily because I'm addicted, but more of just like there's s- there's something I want. I want to go get it, so I'm
yeah,
gonna get it.
yeah,
It's just now transferred into the pornography field where there's this specific video. I'm gonna find it whether it is good or not.
yeah, yeah,
And then multiple different aspects from there.
Or this, or like the same model, right?
Mm.
Looking for things of the same model, something new. Dude, I've spent hours, I've wasted way too much of my life trying to find the videos that I want to find, or some bullshit. Um, and it's just uh, and it's like, why? I mean, look, like I said, the porn industry is gonna hate me for this, but I can't do it anymore, man. I stopped watching porn actually in a couple weeks, or a week. It'll be 1 year since I last watched porn. And um because of just the simple fact that, if I have to search for hours for something that I've probably already seen to get a dopamine hit, to feel good about myself, to be able to have a pleasurable experience, something ain't right, right? Um that's just me though. I'm not a proponent of it anymore. I was addicted to it, porn, right? I was addicted to porn. I would try to make my own. I've made my own, right? Like just amateur stuff, but I would make my own and then rewatch that. And it's just like, but why? You know what I'm saying? And what am I looking for? Am I looking for an emotional hit? Am I looking for a dopamine hit? Is it both? Am I looking just to, well, I'll tell you what, one reason I looked at porn was just to get away from my problems. It was because, I was stressed, or I was horny, or whatever. I just want to look at some women online. Yeah, but unfortunately, when you become dependent on that, you don't that energy, you expel that life force. You're expelling your own life force, your own testosterone. But two, you're not appreciating your solitude. You're not appreciating the fact that you're by yourself. You need validation from someone who doesn't even see you. You need some chemical reaction from a video. And I'm like, yo, this is messed up, man. Like, no wonder it's hard for me to talk to women. No wonder it's hard for me to feel motivated to get up in the morning or to do anything right. No wonder I can't sleep. No wonder I'm at the crib feeling sorry for myself, because a lot of my life energy is going towards pornography. I'm not saying it's the sole reason for it, but it is a reason for it. It is absolutely a reason for it, especially when you're kind of addicted to it. When you use it when you're feeling off, when you're feeling bad, sad, upset, when you went out, when you had a bad date, or you didn't get some. So you're like, yeah, let me go watch some porn. It's not a good healthy coping way. You know what I'm saying? It's not healthy. It's not a healthy thing to do. I went on an app when I was quitting porn. I used an app tracker, and I was talking with people who also were struggling with quitting porn. And I read stories of people who were older than us, 40s, 50s, and they would talk about how their life is just run by it. Like they can't have a normal relationship with a woman, or even a man without it. Not as many women suffer from it, but they still, women also have problems with porn. But it is mostly I think a men problem. Um, and older men would talk about, yo, if you guys don't nip this in the bud when you're 30, or younger, it will follow you for the rest of your life. And I would read stories about men just not being able to interact with people. I wasn't able For a while, excuse me, I was not able to look at a woman and not think a certain way. I was not able to talk to somebody and see them for more than just what they look like, or if they fit my profile, for example. You know, it's hard. You can't even have self-control, you know? Now, I'm not going out there touching people, but what I am doing is I'm fantasizing, and that's just as bad. Just as bad. Stop having fantasies. All right, leave that shit to Disney.
Mhm. And so one thing I'm writing about in my book right now is something called imagined evidence. I the, it's a concept I've termed. I'll probably change the name because yeah. uh, better name for it. But essentially, it's the evidence that you give yourself repeatedly that influences your unconscious. So, oh, to connect this with something like porn and for teenagers, so we can see the teenage boy who has a girlfriend, who has a family, who has good friends, but if the evidence that they're giving themselves is, I'm going to the bathroom and jerking off for, or to porn for hours on end, the majority of your life is that. That's your evidence that you're showing yourself repeatedly, repeatedly, repeatedly. So whenever you look up one day from your phone, you're all alone. It's only you, and you made no social connection, and you've made no emotional connection. So you're going to feel all of that unconsciously, even if you have a girlfriend, even if you have friends, even if you have a family, because of the evidence that you've provided yourself repeatedly throughout your days. So it's a compounding, and it's the same thing with depression, same thing with anxiety. I'm not saying that there isn't a biological or genetics involved with it, but a lot of depression, deep depression and anxiety, and these lusts are those evidences that you provide yourself and tell yourself of, and the actions you do and what you say repeatedly over and over and over again that compound into, well, you can hardly even control it anymore.
Yeah. And the thing about the imagined experience is crazy because I remember, I'm not sure if I mentioned this before, but I remember my last one of my relationships. I was living with my girlfriend at the time, ex-girlfriend, and I would leave the bedroom to watch porn like at night. I would just forego any sort of I would forego love and human connection to then do exactly what you talk about, to go in the bathroom, whip out my phone, and start going to town. And it's just like I would be finished and I would be by myself, and I would go to bed and going to back to the room after that, and when even though and I've done it multiple times, it was like shameful because I thought, dude, I have a perfectly beautiful woman here. Like I have someone who I've committed to here, who I love here, someone that loves me. And what am I doing? Now, does that mean I don't love them? I don't think so. But it does mean I don't love the relationship, probably. I don't put value onto it like I should. I didn't put value onto it. Um, I put value on my phone. I put value on Pornhub. I put value on the BBW category on Pornhub. Seriously, that's what I put value on. I like sit here and I'm like thinking about it. It's kind of sad. Like I'm just thinking like, damn, I really did that. You know, I accept it. I'm over it, right? I just move on. I move forward. I'm done watching porn for good. So I've corrected it. But to those who have not and might find themselves doing that, stop because you're just going to ruin whatever you have. And there's people who are married, there are people who are in relationships, there are people who whatever the situation is, who do exactly that, and I can guarantee you they're not proud of it. I can I can guarantee you because you look at another woman, next thing you know, you're going to start looking for another woman in real life. That goes from the video and it translates to outside in the physical world. You're just manifesting it in a different way. So I've never heard of that though, the imagined experience.
Yeah.
And it's true because it starts at a very young age for a lot of men.
Mhm. Yeah, especially teenagers who have these phones whenever they're 13 and just discovering puberty.
Yeah.
Like there's no way they're gonna have the, I mean, it, even if they had really good parents who instilled self-control and self-discipline with them, they're not gonna have self-control over this.
No, they're teenagers.
Like,
They're teenage
yeah.
boys. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Man, first time, I don't even remember the first time, but I remember being a 13, 14-year-old teenager being hopped
Yeah.
up. I was like,
Oh God.
Ooh.
I will spend hours looking at like anything I can find. I don't care, scraps. All right, I don't care what it is. All right. I remember I had my folks put like an internet blocker on. It was McAfee Security or something like that. And so all the sites were gone. No, I was like, they were like, yeah, we got them. Our house is safe. Our house is safe. Wrong. In 2006, Nintendo released the Nintendo Wii system. Okay. I was lucky enough to get one of those things. I would go downstairs, and this was back when I was cool with pictures at the time. I didn't need video yet. So I would go downstairs and say, hey, gonna play some video games. Gonna play that new Mario, you know what I'm saying? Gonna play that Mario. I'd go downstairs, take my Wii remote, internet browser, bam, type in, all right, PORN on the Google search. I had a website that I would go to, like it was what the hell was it called? I think it was called 89.com or it was another one. But it was I would any category I wanted. And this is and I you know I was very consistent. I was looking up big girls even back when I was 16 years old. So I would go right to them sections. I would just go down the list. I would be looking at pics on pics on pics right on that Nintendo system, sitting in my basement, had my dog, unfortunately, had to watch me do this shit at the time. I'm just I'm having a grand old
Dog could
time
fucking talk.
playing Mario Brothers. Okay. Just playing Mario, playing the Nintendo Wii. Oh man. Hey, and I know my parents be watching this podcast. So if they listen to this part, they're gonna call me up and say, really? I'll say, you're damn right. Okay, I was a young man. I was a young boy. I had to get my shit done, man.
Tell you, if the dog could talk, oh my
Oh
God.
man.
Oh my God.
If our pets could talk, oh, we'd be snitched. We'd be fucked. Okay. If our pets could talk, we'd be screwed because they see everything, man. They see everything and they love us for it. They don't give a damn.
They like look you right in the eye and you're like, and they like, and then you just look at,
I look at my cat, you know what I'm saying? And I look at her now and I know I say, you're a loyal cat. You're a loyal, you are my best friend. Because all she does is just look right back at me. If she knows I'm lying on my teeth, she just walks away. She don't say shit. I'm like, hey, that's my baby girl, man. My girl Paige, my cat. I love my cat, man. Oh my goodness, she's my best friend.
one other thing I found that it's not a problem, it's a complication, is I don't think women understand the lust for men. I mean, like what we have to deal with lust. Um, Let me try to explain it.
Yeah,
This week I went dancing, of course, and then I just spent and pretty much the whole day, whole night talking to this girl and dancing with her, and it was a great time. And uh, and then at the end of the night, I she pretty much told me she just wants to be friends, and I said I don't want a relationship. I'm okay with other things, and I just told her, is like, man, I really want to kiss you right now. And she's like, I, well, why? And I was like, I couldn't articulate it back then, but whenever, at least for me, I'm emotionally connected with a girl, my dick goes crazy. At least 5 times that night. it it was on, and it's like I just had to deal with it. I just had to accept it, and I didn't couldn't articulate it to her then. If I talked to her now, I could explain it better. But it's things like that I don't think women really understand,
mm,
that we just have to deal with it. We have to accept it as it is. But I don't think they understand the problems, how the extent to the problem, to the complication that it is. And of
Well,
course, that goes into dealing with porn, dealing with heterosexual urges, dealing with this. So,
let me ask you a question. I mean, did you like this girl?
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I think one of the coolest part about the human body is that it reacts to everything. So it reacts to not just lust. I mean, I'm sure the girl looked good in your eyes if you liked her, but
Mhm.
you must have had a connection with her, and the body reacts to that too. You know what I'm saying? If we feel a emotional connection to somebody, especially because you two were dancing, which is already a very intimate thing. Um, there's no it's I don't blame you for having like those feelings. You know what I'm saying? That's normal. That's nothing wrong with that. I think a lot of and I think what a lot of men suffer with is um the here and now aspect of it and not taking their time, right? Letting things just blossom as they're supposed to, right? Because people are flowers, man. You gotta water them. You gotta water them. You know what I mean? Before it could fully blossom, right? If you try to pluck it, if you try to get the seed right at the start, it may not be as ripe. It may not be as good. So it's good that you both were able to communicate like where you were. And I get that, man. Dude, I've went around with a bunch of women. I'm like, damn, like I would absolutely lock lips with this young lady right now. This beautiful young woman, and
Now,
I would right now, absolutely, you know. And then if the vibes are right, yeah, it happens. You know what I'm saying? I've slept with people on the first night. It's all good. Like there's nothing wrong with that, you know. But the communication aspect and knowing where each other are is most important. And the consent, right? As long as it's consensual, you're good. Um, but I think to your point, where men have to deal with a lot of these lust feelings, is because the hypersexualization of everything that we see online. Um, Internet, TV, social media. I mean, shit, depending on what your social media is, I mean, it just, the algorithm, because a lot of men comment and like these things, pushes sort of sexual content into your face, right? I mean, Instagram, for example, you go into the search function on Instagram, it's going to show you what it thinks you want to see. And depending on what and here's the thing, I'll be frank, mine has stuff about, a couple things about God, maybe some stupid little memes, and a lot of it is like bigger women. And I'm like, yo, how? Because I don't go on Instagram, I don't look up bigger women. But I somehow it knows that I like women with size. I don't know, it maybe looks at my follower list or something. I don't know, but it pushes it. So I used to, but back in the day, years ago, I would do that on my other Instagram account. Like years ago, I would go on and just look at women's profiles on Instagram, you know? So maybe you remember some of that. So um it pushes it on people, right? I see things on Facebook, right? Content creators. They're usually a couple, like a man and a woman. And a lot of times their content has to do with some sort of sexual related thing, right? Or some woman is kind of flaunting herself on her video for content for a joke or something like that. But all this stuff compiles on top of each other, and it sets men off eventually, right? Especially if they don't have not practiced self-control, and then they go out and they either try to find these things for themselves or they go to porn or whatever they do. So, and then men's society, we're told as a society, as men, to go out there and spread our seed, man. Yo, go for that girl, man. Yeah, sleep with this girl. Oh, we celebrate it. We celebrate those sexual quote unquote victories,
and
right?
it's the opposite for women too.
Yeah, women don't get celebrated. They get demonized for it. So, but we get celebrated. So, and yeah, I was definitely a proponent of that. Like, I thought it was cool to go around and sleep with as many people as possible, right? But unfortunately, it's not. It's temporary, it's temporary pleasure with no long-lasting benefits, and only long-lasting issues for some people, right? So there's we have a lot of things that tell us that we need to get the girl and we need to be attractive. We need to be alpha and have that aura and have women come to us all the time and be able to pull anybody and flirt with this and flirt with that and whatever and pull whatever. But it's like, dude, and then we get images thrown in our face. We're very visual, so we get images thrown in our face. They stick in our head. The music we listen to talks about it all the time. And damn right, I listen to some of that music. Shit's hot. Shit's good. You know, the beats are crazy, you know what I'm saying? And look, I like to talk some shit here and there, but but unfortunately, it's all on young men and it's very impressionable and it lasts, right? You have to take yourself out of that. You have to realize that all this shit that's being thrown in our face is pure fiction. It is not real. None of thing is real, okay? It's not reality. It's just fabricated. It's in your face. It's just visual stuff, visual stimuli. The only thing real is the fact that you're breathing, and every second that you see that happens in front of you in your face that's in the real world is real. Okay? The shit you see online is not real because it's edited, it's put on an MP4, it's thrown on a program on a computer, or it's thrown on CapCut on your phone, or it's TikTokified, or it's Instagramified, and you throw it out in the world. That's not real. Nothing is real. Okay.
Especially, yeah, two things of 14-year-olds looking like they're 27 and AI images.
Dude, the
Absolutely
AI
fake.
is crazy, yo. The AI
Threats.
is crazy right now. It is able to produce life-like images and videos now. It's nuts.
And did you hear about it can also produce podcast with two people talking to each other on audio, and it sounds like a real podcast.
Don't let them know our secret, bro. Don't let them know our
It's just
secret.
we did AI for audio, and then we did AI for the video, and
Yes.
that's how
Raw
we did
Lion
it.
podcast is just AI. That's all it is. This
But
is a
this ain't
complete
real,
AI
guys. Ain't
podcast.
real at all.
The truth's out, episode 9. This was AI the whole time? Yeah, it's crazy, man.
It's good shit, ain't it? It's good
But
shit.
that's the thing, man. If it was we could be telling the truth. You know what I mean? Like that that could be an absolutely fact that this is AI. It's not, by the way. This is absolutely real. But I mean, I'm pulling on my skin right now. I'm doing all this crazy stuff, and I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what you could fake anymore. But you can't fake the fact that I didn't make up my bed. Okay, AI would not allow that. All right, AI would have made sure that bed was made, and mine's not. So this is definitely a real podcast.
Are you sure? Are you sure? I'm just
So
kidding.
I mean, I'll show you. I'll turn the camera, but I'm a little embarrassed. A little embarrassed. But nah, man, it's very true.
No,
Um,
and the thing is too, is and this is with any content that people are listening to or reading or indulging in, whatever you're consuming isn't your own experience or your own thoughts.
yeah. Yeah.
And that goes into reading books, that goes into videos, that goes into video games, any art, any a podcast. They're not your thoughts. They're not your experiences. Your experiences are whenever you do this in your own life, the one-on-one talks in your own life. It's when you actually go and act
Yeah.
and into a film. It's when you actually go and write. And I think that's an important thing people need to realize is it doesn't matter if you're reading Plato's Republic. Are you actually retaining the information and incorporating it into your own being to actually be part of yourself?
Yeah.
And that- for me, for a long time, for like 6 years of my life, I was just reading like 2 hours a day nonstop, but I wasn't doing that. It
Yeah.
was osmosis for me. And I recently I realized it's no, you actually have to interact with this material if you actually want to learn something and do something. And then flip side, I if you're doing pornography and you're interacting with it, it's solidifying more in your mind because you're actually interacting with it
Correct.
instead of
That's
just watching it.
correct. Yeah. If you just watched it and you didn't do anything about it and you didn't like,
Mhm.
play with yourself while you're watching it, it's it may not be as potent. So it's very true. Like I mean, you told me about this, right? Reading and journaling. Anytime I read now, I journal and I write about it. I write something, right? One, I can go back and look at it, or two, but two, yeah, it helps with just being more invested in what you're reading. You're retaining more, you're making it an exercise. Um, and then the last point I want to make before we close it off, I'm sure you've heard the term, I'm sure you've heard people talking about, oh man, that felt real, or like, wow, that was that just these guys talking in front of us on the Raw Line podcast. I don't know, I just that's real, you know. It's more or like it feels real, like using real as a scale because we know that something that's we're watching that's not in front of us physically is could be somewhat fabricated in some way, could be doctored, could be edited. Um, because I want you to let people know this is a real podcast. Like this is two real dudes that just met each other and we just talk about whatever, you know what I mean? And we don't edit anything, okay? We just whatever we talk about, we throw it out there. The only editing we do is add a fade in at the beginning and a fade out at the end. That's it.
And maybe
So
for me, like sometimes I cut off some of the beginning just to get to actual
just to get
part
to the
of where
point.
we're talking. That's it.
Exactly. And that's it. So um but we also are smart, man. We can discern because we're not stupid. We have eyes, we have ears, we have experiences, we have a mind. We can discern when people are being real or not, you know? I mean, like a great acting performance can be seen as pretty much real because the actors do such a great job of conveying an emotion. And some of them probably actually feel the emotion. That's why they convey it so well. They're actually not just crying for the camera, but they're crying inside too because they've went into this character so much so that some people even turned into the character and then unfortunately they have complications because of that.
Heath Ledger.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about. You know, he became the Joker and that caused problems for him and he passed away. I don't know the full story, but I know that that performance has something to do with it. So be very careful what you look at online, and just be able to discern that it's not real life. Um, the more real it seems to you, either it's just because it's genuine, or maybe, or I don't know. Yeah, I would just say it's just genuine. You know, if it's genuine stuff, you can tell. We're smart. We can tell when something's real and when something's not. Like reality TV has the word real in it, and it's the most unreal, non-real shit that ever existed. There's nothing real about reality TV. Nothing. All right. They call it reality TV because it's literally making and formulating an entirely new reality. Okay. It's just not, that's the only, it's reality, not real TV. It's reality TV. Okay. So it's not real at all. None of it is real. Just remember that.
Do you mind if I say the last
You can
word?
say whatever you want. Go for
Okay,
it. I don't,
okay.
you can take the next 10 minutes. It's all yours, Mr.
Okay,
Norman.
okay. I no, this it's just one thing we're talking about reality. It's the idea that no matter reality is unexplainable. At the end of the day, we can try our best to explain it, to try to put words to it. But as Alan Watts, he's a famous philosopher, but he once said, reality is took a bong, like a not a bong, but a giant musical instrument, the cymbal,
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
cymbal, yeah,
Simple.
and he just banged it. Said reality is boom, and he just let it play. And that's what reality is.
Yeah,
It's it's pretty much everything. You can't artificially recreate that
yeah,
until we understand consciousness a little better. Maybe, and even then, how can you recreate a bat's experience of reality?
yeah,
So, at least right now, with our own present understanding, reality is way more than you think it is. And what's beautiful about that is you can experience way more than you think you can.
yes, you can. That's right. Put your senses into it.